This is Heather Lewis and Mark Hafen from Animal Arts, and we're going to talk about taking the next level with your design. God is in the details, tricks to make your clinic work. This picture here is Mies van der Rohe. He's a famous modern architect.
He's not a veterinary design architect.
Not a veterinary designer, actually, with some wonderful, wonderful big ideas. He's the one who's credited with that. God is in the details.
He didn't do vet clinic.
He didn't do vet clinic.
No, that's right.
The point of this conversation is to talk about how to make your design great, how to take it to the next level. There are lots of competent designs out there and lots of competent hospitals that work perfectly well and function well and make everybody happy. But if you really want to take the next step to make your design not just good but great, a place that you really want to be, a place that really appeals to you, that keeps you fresh every day, that keeps your staff energized, what can you do? So this is a topic of great passion for me and Mark, and we want to talk about what we can do to take it to the next level.
And I think when we talk about that, once again, we don't need to spend a bunch of money. What you need to do is prioritize what's important. How can you get the biggest bang for your buck? Right. So I think like an outdoor room, in truth, you're not actually building a room.
Hey, that room's free.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not bad at all. So, but it really sets the stage, and it's a place that you can enjoy, and it can make all the sense in the world, and it changes the priority, the importance, it changes the whole aspect of the building if you put the value into something like what surrounds the building.
Absolutely. And just thinking about, instead of creating an outdoor space, I've started from the outdoors going indoors. But if you start with the outdoor space, and rather than just landscape it, think of it as a series of rooms or a series of experiences. I mean, the experience is what you make it. That's the power of architecture. That's the power of the built environment, is that it affects emotions, it changes behavior. I mean, sometimes we think it does more than it actually does. But
well, I think it does. I think it's important stuff.
Yeah, I mean, aren't there some architects out there that have made buildings that make people sick?
And that's not us. Not us. We've never done that.
That's not the goal here, but the goal is to think about what makes a place special. So starting from the outdoors, to think about it, outdoor rooms rather than just landscaping. The next topic is talking about your message, and your message pervades the project at all levels. How you approach it, what it looks like. This actually happened to be an existing building, and if you're taking in an existing building and renovating it, it still has the bones of that existing building. So is that existing building communicating what you want to communicate? What is your message? So that's going to vary from project to project and from practice to practice.
And also even the location. This one's actually in California, and this probably sells. An orange building in California is the norm. This is workable.
This is okay.
Maybe in Alabama, this might not be what you want to be, but it's sending a message, setting up an expectation.
When you come into the client spaces of the hospital, the veterinary, the communication in the client spaces is your opportunity to really set yourself apart. Absolutely, all the details come into play here. So
people pick up on that type of stuff.
Do.
They look at when you have, like, say, in this particular slide you have rocks and stuff in the background. The rocks actually sort of connote a certain substance and viability and strength, and people on some level dial into that. And this goes to the colors and the other materials. So if you have this particular slide is calming and simple and soothing and strong. But it's a function of all these little details reinforcing each other.
Absolutely.
So sending a message.
Going back to that message, and this is a very corporate look. I mean, maybe this is not right for you, but this is a perfectly wonderful space for this practice. And actually, very interestingly, after this practice opened, I got a call just a couple days later. Someone wanted to find out where they could get that sign.
Oh, really?
Yeah, who made it? But so those details actually do matter.
Right.
And the other thing that this slide communicates is that the ceiling as a surface, too. It's not just the floor.
And not just a flat surface. It's something that you've actually captured and made something special out of.
You can design the ceiling as well as the floor. With the exam room, the important thing is not the exam that you're doing on the patient, although that's important, but the relationship to the patient and the client.
The interaction,
the interaction,
the three of you in a
on.
sense.
The three of you, yeah, the client, the doctor, the patient, and what relationship that makes.
And you're talking about the dynamics.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the dynamics is probably more important than the prognosis.
Absolutely, for sure.
This is what you're setting up.
If the client feels comfortable, then the whole thing's going to go a lot better. In this case, they're using a mobile table so they could set up a interaction, even with the young girl sitting in a chair participating. Maybe
they're all grouped around it, which is nice.
They're all grouped around, which is really nice. So maybe the mobile table helps them achieve that in this case. In the areas like lab and pharmacy, it's actually all about doing your work. If you're sitting down doing lab work, you have to be really, really efficient. I did lab work once in my distant past. I actually entered things into a mass spectrometer. Anyway, it was the most boring thing in the world, and there was no windows in the room, and I sat there all day, and I literally was falling asleep. And I'm not sure if I think your
quality might have been lacking just a little bit.
I think it might have been quality might have been lacking. But it's all about doing the work. So it's about the equipment. It's about the height of the tables. It's about the ergonomics. I mean, I love this photo because this young woman's sitting at the microscope, and she's kind of in a perched position, so she can jump up and down. This is a drafting height stool. She's got natural light behind her. She's going to be much more energized and do her work better because of the space.
I really like the idea that she can actually see out. So many of the labs are built into corners of the rooms where the person at the microscope is sitting facing the corner, and that might help you focus. But in this case, this person could look up and see that maybe they need a hand over on a treatment table where something is going bad, and she could jump up and run over there and deal with it. And I think that would be a plus. So you're breaking down barriers between people. I like that. That works a lot.
And also just sitting in an alcove. A lab works really well in an alcove because you're kind of out of the flow and people aren't bumping your elbows while you're trying to do something. With treatment stations, I think the most important thing to think about with a treatment station, it is like your kitchen. Well, maybe not like my kitchen, but like a very, very well-designed kitchen. If you had a kitchen designer come to your house and design your kitchen, wouldn't that be awesome? You would have everything, every tool within 2 steps, everything you need in a perfect ergonomic environment. You're not like trying to get into one cabinet while you're getting poked in the eye by a plant. That's my kitchen. Or you're bending over to get something out of the oven. Just take this analogy and take it to the treatment.
And I think you actually can physically do this. You can actually sit down and map out what your treatment area needs to be. You can draw on a floor where your desk ought to be, or where your the peninsula ought to be, where the cages ought to be, and you actually can step through the process and actually create it. Then you copy that over onto a drawing, and you're halfway there.
Yeah, actually, one of the things that we draw in our drawings is bottom space.
Exactly.
We draw these circles around the end of treatment tables, and it's because there are bottoms around the end of treatment stage, and they
large ones or small ones,
and they take room, and nobody wants to be banging into bottoms when they're trying to get by. So, just even thinking about simple human space around all of these.
Exactly.
So your treatment area could be peninsulas, it could be islands, whatever the relationship it is. Think about how you do your work. This island works because you can see a counter in the foreground, so there's something really close by that they can reach out to. They wanted the runs right close by so they could deal with patients.
Makes sense.
Recoveries. Yeah. So it just once again, everything within 2 steps reach. Bringing natural light into the building. If there's nothing else that we accomplish with this conversation, if you could bring natural light in, great.
Another aspect of design that's critical is the idea of having windows, daylight. And this is actually not a radical idea. Most of the rest of the universe actually has windows in their buildings. And it seems to be that only veterinarians are without this. So as part of our new radical design trend, we're actually pitching the idea that you actually include daylight in windows.
I mean, admit it, how many of you actually work in a building where there are windows only high on the wall? And what are we doing here?
Yeah, or no windows at all.
Or no windows at all.
Exactly.
And it's really difficult to maintain your energy level during the day, be productive, all of those things that are important. And actually, that's now been proven that you need natural daylight to be productive and be healthy. And frankly, it just makes the work environment a lot more enjoyable.
Right.
Emerging at the end of the day, not knowing.
I like moving out from a cocoon or something.
Right,
exactly. So it's
exactly.
not a good idea.
Yeah, so incorporating windows. And for those who are concerned about security, frankly, you can break into a small window just as well as you can a large window. So go ahead and put large windows in all of your spaces. In your work areas, it's really important to have convenient storage. This is showing some cubbies above cages, and you can see that you can plug the pumps in, you get your oxygen drops right where you need them in the front of the cage, so you don't have a bunch of stuff dangling and sitting on the floor and hanging off cages. It's just a lot cleaner.
And this goes back to the beginning slide here, which was God was in the details. And what we've done here, what you've done, is actually sat down and designed what makes sense for maximizing the effectiveness of this particular space in terms of equipment, in terms of access, in terms of power, in terms of utilities, in terms of the total utilization. And what it comes down to is taking the time to do it. And this talk here is about taking the time to transcend from just the plain old, oh hell, I'll crank it out, to actually dialing into the details to make this make sense.
Absolutely. And remember, there are no rules here. Absolutely. You can challenge assumptions right and left and do it differently. As you begin the design process, you're not the designer, you're the owner. However, you're going to have all kinds of great ideas. And in fact, we have never invented an idea.
We steal all our ideas.
We steal all of our ideas, either from other architects, other projects, a dream we had, or from a client. And it's a client so often who's going to solve the problem for us.
I think listening to a client, there's so many good ideas out there. And if you can capture that, that really is amazing.
So visit other clinics. Keep an idea book or an idea list on your iPhone or whatever works for you, and keep all of these thoughts in your mind. Like, I really would like to solve this problem. I'm going to figure out a way to do it. There is no right way to design a veterinary hospital. There are lots of wrong ways.
There's also old ways and new ways.
But and challenge paradigms.
Exactly.
Challenge yourself to make a good design great.
Yep.